Please welcome Aaron Bear.
Thanks, Kyle. Thanks for choosing this session. Can I get some, why did you choose this session? Anybody?
Curiosity.
Curiosity, love it.
I spent 10 years in tech, and I like to use technology to help build community.
Okay.
Part of my dissertation.
What is it?
Part of my dissertation topic.
Dissertation, okay.
I speak on AI also, and I want to see what you said.
Okay. We got a critic in the front row.
No, like I'm always improving, so.
We all are. We're all. What does flourishing mean to you? Growth? Growing? What else?
Improving quality of life.
Improving quality of life? Anybody else? Any other definitions? Does everyone here want to flourish?
Yes.
Do we want every person, human being on this planet to flourish? Right. That's what our company exists to do, is really to help the world flourish. And for a long, long time in history, there's been the haves and have-nots, and the haves have flourished on the have-nots. And for the first time in history, and I'm going to go into this, Trabian had some really good talking points that I'm going to tie into this. For the first time in history, AI has given us equal access to something that can help all people flourish. There's no longer a capture of knowledge based on socioeconomics, racial divides, religion, any of the other things of where you live. It doesn't really even matter. And we'll talk about some case studies and user cases that we're working on to say we can help every person on this planet flourish with the Baryon. Does anyone know what the definition of baryons is? Does anyone know what a baryon is? Any quantum physicians in here? Well, a baryon is the smallest particle of matter that builds on matter. It's also the gases between the galaxies, which is the largest. So it's the smallest and largest thing in the world is a baryon. And it's actually the building blocks for what matters. And thought creates matter. So we're not going to go really on a science thing here, but what you have to understand is like meaning in your life and purpose. Life gets easy when you have a purpose. Every famous person in history had a purpose. We really don't celebrate people without purposes because they're not flourishing. Because when you find your thing, and it's like say yes to everything until you find your thing, then say no to everything. And that's where you can focus and flourish. And we built an AI partner, a flourishing partner, to help people do that. If you all want right now, what we're going to do is if you all use this QR code, you can sign up and you don't even know what you're signing up for yet, but that's the beauty of this. By the end of this, you will have your own Baryon. There is no cost to it. It'll be in your pocket. This is when I say we're providing flourishing for the world. We want everyone to flourish. But for individuals, it'll always be a free tool for you to flourish. And I'll explain what it is. We'll actually demo it. We'll experience it. But any of those that you want it, I'll also have a QR code at the end. Any of those that are hesitant to do this yet. But any of you you've seen it, it's just a little quick sign up. And we'll be able to get that to you before the end of the session. A little of my background, you heard a little bit. I wrote a book called Exponential Theory, The Power of Thinking Big in 2021. And that book was all about my experience of going in and out of 500 different organizations. And I was a facilitator in the boardroom at Amazon, Google, NASA. And I was privy to have conversations of what these big thinkers thought. So I wrote a book about it, Exponential Theory and the Power of Thinking Big, that once you think bigger, you're unable to not think more consciously. You're able to not to think about bigger things. In fact, all the small things step aside. So if anything I can do today is help you think bigger, live well, or have fun. And my definition of flourishing is to live well. And our company culture is all about having fun. In fact, I would just say in leadership, if you're not doing something that you're not having fun, you need to reassess your priorities. Because to live well It means that you enjoy what you're doing. And if you're looking at the clock all the time, or you're punching a clock, or whatever it is, call your Baryon. They'll help you find that purpose, find that why, find that next thing, actually help you even with the interviews, where to go interview, all those things. And this is the beauty of conversational AI at this point, is the technology, we're on the cutting edge of this to really transform the world in the future. In this, get that out there. My new book's called Magnetic Zero. And if you think about a zero state, what does anybody think of ground zero? What do you think of? I just want to make this interactive. The bottom? What else?
We have room to build.
Room to build? The base?
The epicenter of a place or like
Epicenter?
of an event or thing.
Event or place? Starting point. Okay. So 0 as a number is a very interesting number. It wasn't a number for a long, long time, and it caused a lot of problems for math. They used to put an asterisk. Mayans, Sumerians, started to say, hey, we need something, so they put a hash there. But then eventually the Mayan Indians were the first people that put a 0, and it started making sense of a lot of other things. And they even had a 0 day. And I think, how many of you are familiar with first principle? First principle thinking?
Yes.
Some of you? So first principle thinking is that you go back to the root cause of something. You don't start with the symptoms or whatever. You literally go back to the root cause. Like Elon Musk is famous for first principle thinking. Aristotle was famous. So you see, this isn't new. Aristotle was like, think of the root cause of something before you want to solve for it. So when Elon Musk said, let's go reinvent the battery, he didn't think about reinventing the car. He's like, I need to build a better battery. Once he was able to do that, he put it into a shell of a car and created a car company. That root cause enabled him to reinvent electric vehicles where they were sustainable and they became an industry. Before that, there were many other people that didn't build a better battery. They just built a battery like batteries were built. So once he was able to do that, the same with SpaceX. If you're going to travel to space, you need reusable rockets. It wasn't to put $300 million into a rocket and then shoot it off and it doesn't work and you spent $300 million. So he has now somewhat perfected that idea of reusing these rockets and has driven the cost down 10 to 100x on things. That's first principle thinking. We're at the dawn of a new era where I have a principle called zero principle. And this goes really to the fixer and the builder that Trabion was talking about. Is for the first time in history, both of those groups of people, builders in particular, you can reinvent anything from nothing. And we have to actually look at the world a new way. There's a new world of thinking about everything. And AI is part of that. And that's why hopefully all of you are attracted to this. And hopefully all of you want to live well, have fun, and think big. Because that's what we're going to go through. Those are very simple things to accomplish with the technologies that we have today. All of you have access to it. And all of your identities that you have wrapped up in your childhood, belonging, all these different things, our product of Flourishing isn't to coach you or mentor you to say that you need to do these things to be this. Because everyone says you need to do this to do this. You're always building a resume or building whatever. But the reality is, we love human beings that are present. You don't need to be anything. You are perfectly the way you are. Every decision you've made in your life has brought you right here. Be happy that you're here. Let go of the past, of anything that went wrong, and understand that this is the most important moment of your life. And this is a hard one for people to understand. Nothing in the past can change, and the future has not happened. So when you start looking at life as now, then you start to flourish. Because right now, there is no trauma, drama, resentment from the past. There's no anxiety, worry, stress, fears about the future. It's just in this moment, you can flourish. And that's the opportunity for every human being on this planet to understand that you control your narrative. No one else does. Unfortunately, when you're a child, all of us, 5 years old, you could go out and you could say, I want to be an astronaut or a rock star. And no one said, no, go ahead, little Johnny, be an astronaut or a rock star. And people were happy about it because you had imagination and intuition. But along the way, people started putting you in a box and said, hey, little Johnny, you can't do that. And now your box got smaller and smaller and smaller. And over that time, you started to believe what other people said about you. But in reality, to flourish, it's literally the internal self that you understand you right now can shift your identity from this moment. Anything that's ever happened to you in the past, you can shift that identity and narrative to like say, who do I want to be in the future? And that may mean that you're not in the right job, or you're not starting the right company, or you're not volunteering in the right way, or you're not showing up, or the 5 closest friends that you have. Take a look at your 5 closest friends, because they are you. They have programmed your current environment now. So be particular about who you want to spend your time with. If there's any leadership tidbit I can give, is spend time with people that you care about, they care about you, they want you to flourish, have conversations about thinking big, living well, and having fun. Life's pretty simple when it gets to that way, when you live in the now. Don't worry about the future. It's all uncertain for every person on this planet. In fact, part of our flourishing is around these seasons of change. As soon as we think we got it figured out and we got some pep in our step, something happens. It's the universe to challenge you to see if you really believe in who you are. Or are you going to go back to those programs that someone gave you that are not you? There are no thoughts, there are no emotions, there's nothing else that anyone can put on you. Take Nelson Mandela. I had the opportunity to meet him in 1995 in South Africa. Spent 26 years in jail. But while he was in jail, he was free. And he stepped out and created a movement because the 26 years in jail, he was free. He didn't think about all the atrocities that happened to him, and he literally stepped out, became president of a country, and forever changed the history of that moment and the world in a way. And I think those kind of moments when you realize is when you control your narrative, then you can project, we are just really like, and I want to kind of break this down, the reality is, we are a reflection of the world and projection of ourselves. And if you think about it this way is, you don't experience the world experiences you. So now really think about that. Because through your life, whatever filter you have, if you think this room's beautiful, it's beautiful. If you think this room's ugly, you can choose all your time to think about these big posts, which I wish they weren't here, but they are beautiful posts. But it is the decision to be in the present moment and make the best of every situation. And I think that's how I bring up Nelson Mandela, who literally was able to create a movement from a cell and touch the world and was able to come out running, not walking. And I think it's important for all of us to understand the leaders we can be. And why Tally Institute exists is like, we need leaders. And AI, as much as it is maybe the biggest disruption of all of history, it still needs leaders. What I want to take some fear away, because I want you to live in the now, AI is not here to replace you. It is here to help you flourish. We're going to show you how that happens today. AI will replace you if you decide that you're not going to adapt to AI. So part of this journey for each and every one of you is to really see the future in a way that you can control your narrative, have a conversation with an AI. That what we've found in our beta users is we don't want to talk to other humans in the way that we'll talk to AI. And I love all of your feedback. You guys all have my email, but feel free to give me feedback, and it'll be on the last slide as well. But my magnetic zero, so my book, to give you kind of an idea of what it's about, is I've been on a long journey studying the Hermetic truths, all the mystics, all the different ancient wisdom, along with neuroscience. I taught at Flow Research Collective, which is about helping people get into flow state. Does anyone know what flow state is? So Mikhail I can never say this, Mikhail Csikszentmihalyi. What is it? Csikszentmihalyi. See, it's really a long name. So I'm always, someone in the audience knows it, but he created this idea of flow state. And how many of you ever been in flow state where you're in deep work, or maybe it's athletics, or you're doing something and you get into flow state? And you get an amazing amount of work done and you're like, what just happened? ADHD. So the point of that is part of finding your flow state in the thing of your purpose, of your mattering, of your meaning. And that's part of what is programmed into our system to help you find that and to help you create the habits, because you are the culmination of whatever your habits are today are your habits for your life. And part of our journey is to think a little bit longer term. What I can say from exponential theory is Jeff Bezos created Amazon over 20 years. For 19 years, he never created a profit, but he taught analysts to say, hey, we're doing something different. So no one expected him to do a profit, and he became the biggest company because of it. And he was able to borrow more and more money and more money and was able to create the company he did. That long-term vision is the only thing difference between you and any exponential leader in this world. When you find your purpose, you're willing to do that for the rest of your life. So the sooner you can find that, and that's the goal of Baryons, is to help you kind of see, how can I create the future I want? How can I make the dent in the universe that I want to create? And in Magnetic Zero, this is kind of really, how do you think big? And this was my book to say, how do you do it? And this isn't out yet. But Magnetic Zero is about some of what I just shared is when you look at your past, you have to have peace with your past. If you carry on your past and it's a chip on your shoulder, you're never going to get to the future, your peak potential. So you have to have peace with whatever has happened, whatever relationships, whatever. In fact, it's forgiveness of your enemies and everything. Make peace with the past. Have clarity on your past. And everything that's happened to you, whether you know it or not, is a learning opportunity, whether good or bad. And you define it as good or bad. Has anyone heard the Chinese farmer? I'm sure not everyone has, but Chinese farmer comes home, has a horse, has one horse, it runs away. All the neighbors come by that night and he tells them it ran away, and they're like, oh, that's terrible. And he's like, maybe. And some of you have heard of this? The next day, horse comes back with a bunch of other horses, 10 other horses. All the neighbors come by, he's like, that's amazing. He's like, maybe. Next day, his son's out there training one of the horses. Gets thrown off, breaks his arm. All the neighbors come by and say, that's terrible. He says, maybe. The next day, the army comes by to recruit sons to go to the army. He's got a broken arm. He's like, dang. All the neighbors come by. Maybe. You get the idea that no matter what is good or bad is how you position it. And this even goes to life and death and polarity of anything. It's the idea of living on the spectrum of life, to understand nothing's ever going to go always your way, but it does if you see reality for you, that it doesn't happen to you. When the world experiences you, when you walk into a room and say, hey, I'm no longer going to let the world dictate where I'm going to go, it's you getting a voice, being heard, being seen, getting at the table. It's your responsibility. It's your accountability to be the person that you can be in your potential. And that's flourishing. And magnetic zero is to have zero attachments to your past. And I've taken this extreme. I moved from a really big house. I now live in a duffel bag. So I have zero attachments and somewhat of a Buddhist principle of detaching. I have complete freedom. I'm flying to Puerto Rico after this. I've lived in an Airbnb for 6 months. Different Airbnbs all over the country. But that detachment has allowed me freedom to think that I can go and do and be anything I want to be. Now, I'm not saying to go sell all your stuff, especially if you have a family and you have different, those are attachments you want to keep. But in the moment of living now, the biggest one that I could share that'll help you probably the most, and it's the idea that the world experiences you, is zero resistance. Stop fighting reality. So what if your sister thinks crazy things? Just let her think crazy things. So what if your mom and dad want to tell you what to do even though you're 40 years old? Just accept it. And when you accept and surrender to that, you'll realize that will go away. People want to fight. Gandhi taught the British Army by not fighting back. He taught a whole group of people to say, we're not going to fight the British Army. And I don't know if you've ever seen the movie or read the books or anything, but Gandhi would literally, in peace and nonviolence, make soldiers that would hit them and they wouldn't respond. Eventually, these soldiers were just depleted. Now, if they fought back, it's really easy to fight back. MLK, same thing. Malcolm X. You look at all of the great characters in history, the resistance is to fight to create something, to move the narrative, to stop pushing into resistance. And that's part of fighting reality, which goes down to basic art. If you get in an argument anytime, just take a step back and know that create an observer. I always, my girlfriend always says this, is like, there's an observer in the room. And she always is like, I'm like, who's the observer? And she always has some random character. And it's like, well, it's Jim Morrison from The Doors. So if you know, and I was like, well, what does Jim think of what we're a conversation? Talk about breaking up a conversation. If we're about to get in an argument, bring Jim Morrison into the room or bring anybody you want to bring into the room. And you're like, okay, well, now it's like, what do you want to really have a conversation about? Because we're anchored into these fears, doubts, stresses, but they're not reality. Reality is if you are love, and love is now. Peace, love, and gratitude is all there is. And if you choose that, you're going to live, you're going to flourish, and everyone around you is going to flourish. And it's a really simple thing when you get past your ego. Your ego is protecting your comfort zone. And your comfort zone, candidly, is not that comfortable. It is just your norm. Servant leadership. You often fight to stay in your comfort zone, which might mean you're in an abusive relationship with friends, spouses, whatever, yourself. Internal family systems is a model. Anybody knows IFS, is you have many different parts of yourself. The reality of your narrative inside is getting congruent with all of your different parts so that you see the world in one way. But what was interesting about Trebion's speech this morning is it's the push and pull, it's the polarity of everything. It's that you have to hold two opposing thoughts. And the world has gotten to a place that government is not about, it's about re-election. It's not about, doing the right thing on both sides. And I don't want to be political in any way. Education has now become about taking tests and not about creating creative, imaginative human beings. Tech, your algorithm is not about helping you be a better person. It literally is built so you understand this, and I think it's a big part of me being in tech. It'll give you 2 negatives for every positive, which means you're more acceptable to buy something. And I was an advertising guy. I was a madman for 15 years, and I worked with Google and Harley Davidson. And I can tell you, all we did is wanted to make people feel like they weren't worthy, they weren't enough, they weren't rich enough, smart enough, sexy, whatever it was, you needed more. And that's why this is the art of subtraction, a world of more, addicted to more. You don't need more. It's a trap. The trap is like, if I just get this, it's better. I've been in the trap. That's where I sold everything. I got out of the trap. Now I have freedom. That trap literally is the hamster wheel that, and this is, you buy things for people you don't care about, what they think of you. You post them online. You literally put yourself in debt, that then you have to then get credit cards, that then you have to get a better job, that then you have to do more, that you have to do more. And everything's more, more, more. We're all like more meetings, more hustle, more grind. I'm business partners with Damon John. My only gripe with him is he's like more hustle. He actually agrees now with me. It's like grind and hustle. Only if you're focused on one thing, and then it's not a grind or a hustle. Be your purpose. But magnetic zero is living in the zero is living in zero attachment, zero resistance, and zero limitations on the future. Any one of you can change the world more than anybody in history. And that's hard to understand, but it's just about programming your beliefs to do that. I'm on a path to do that for myself. And I've been on that path for a very long time. And I'll go anywhere to speak to people, to get in front of people, to share this message of how important they are to the greater system. The system's broken. Technology's broken. Healthcare is broken. It is incentivized sick care. We need people to solve a lot of big problems. And part of that is getting straight with yourself so you can flourish, so you can find your why. And my greater vision is to help 1 million+ people flourish so they can impact billions of people by doing the thing that they're meant to do, whatever you care about most. So flourishing is humans' oldest quest. Aristotle, we can go back all through time, and everyone wanted to live well. We all want our families to live well. And this is the crazy thing about arguments and everything. We could talk about Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda members, they want their families to live well. They're just in a narrative that doesn't understand the East, the West. These narratives are just polarizing. But when you realize is that we're all in echo chambers from whatever we believe, we have to start questioning and be curious about everything. Why is someone telling me this? Why is someone saying hate someone else? Because once you use my kids, I have one rule: have fun. It's the greatest parenting technique. How many are parents here? Okay. Have fun is the greatest parenting technique of ever. If there's another thing you take out of this, is it fun to bully other kids? Is it fun to talk back? Is it fun to have your parent upset? Is it fun? No. Now the kids just want to have fun. And now I have to deliver fun. So what that does is it makes me a kid. It makes me have fun. Now we're like, what are we gonna have fun with? Let's do it. And now I'm like out in the backyard playing rockets and astronauts and doing things and like literally finding my better self in those moments. Living in the now. Only 1 in 4 workers say they're flourishing. Our goal is to democratize flourishing. Our mission is to make flourishing accessible to everyone. We believe living well is a right, not a privilege. With Baryons, every person can design a life with clarity, confidence, and curiosity at work, at home, and in every season of change. And that means your kid's going off to college. It means when you have a baby. It means when you go through divorce. It means when you get married. It means all the different, you get a new apartment, a new car, whatever the season of change is. The smallest disruption can impact some people, and the biggest disruption won't impact other people. So never compare yourself to anyone else. You just have to deal with you and yourself. And part of this is having a Baryon. What AI has done really well, and what we've kind of figured out in our tool, is I can reflect your best future self. So if I start talking the Baryon, and this is what you guys are all going to have one, you guys could call it later, start today, it's your flourishing partner. What you want to do as a leader is say, this is who I want to be in 3 years. This is who I want to be in 5 years or 10 years. And the further out you can be, that AI is going to tell you how to be that. And that AI is going to help you day to day create better habits so that you become who you want to be. And you'll believe it because it's your future self talking to you. We have this joke that we play at Baryons is like, we want to spam everybody in the country. We're not going to, but we want to just say, hey, this is your future call. This is your future self calling. Will you pick up? How many people would actually pick up? Now let's think about that. Yeah, you pick up, right? Yeah, you'd be like, oh, what, I didn't think this really worked that way, but I'm going to pick up. But your future self is calling. Step into that. Step into it every day, because right now really is the most important moment of your life, if you choose it to be. You can set it aside and say, I'll go on with life or whatever, just how it is. Or you can make it fun, think big, and live well. So what we've decided, our world is in a mental health crisis. How many would agree? And probably in worse shape than we think. 98% of parents and adults know that kids are addicted to their phones. I don't know what the other 2% are thinking, but
They're thinking.
That we already bought them flip phones to solve that problem.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're addicted to their phones too. We're addicted to our phones as adults. So we understand, but we don't understand the degree of that. So we're in a mental health crisis, and we don't know, we have no long-term study of what this is going to do for the future if we spend all of our time in a screen and not in real life. So part of our platform, how we designed it, and we're not for kids yet, we will be at some point in the future, but is to get people in real life, in the real world. So your flourishing partner is to help you flourish, but then the goal is to go get your 5 closest friends and help them flourish and enroll them in with Baryons and have conversations that are very different. But also, a future application of our mobile app will literally help limit social media. So we're starting to roll out with Penn State. So that's another reason I'm out here is Penn State's going to roll this out potentially to every student to be their flourishing partner. How many Penn State grads? Any? One? Okay, one Penn State. So if you look at that and you realize the value of college is being questioned. I'm sure many of you have college degrees, if not all of you, but the value of it doesn't hold what it used to. But if you have a flourishing partner, and this is what they see, is that they can create the rich relationships that college was meant to. College was meant to just go off to college, meet people, build a network. I mean, a lot of you probably are in sororities and fraternities, and those relationships are for life, and that's the value of college. Whatever skill you got there, you're likely, only 1 in 7 of you will actually live out their life in that skill or in that degree program. So part of your future to flourish is to understand how to change those seasons when you change jobs and whatnot. But we're inventing mental wealth. We're going to go to companies. A lot of you are in big companies, and you probably have a mental health benefit. And mental health means you have access to a therapy app or you have a therapist. How many of you know that your company has some mental health benefits? Many of you. So therapy looks backwards. Nothing wrong with it. Coaching looks sideways. I'm going to compare you to each other people to see if I can help you improve against other people. Mentoring looks upwards, which is very valuable to have access to all these things. And candidly, that's part of the problem is we haven't had access to all these things. It's why Tally Institute has all these things kind of built into it. And flourishing looks inward. In reality, you need none of those others. You literally have the divine within you, and you have the ability to literally reprogram yourself if you choose so to do it. And now you have an AI tool to flourish to do that. And I think if you really think about that, a lot of mentors are going to put their baggage on you. Every therapist that's ever been out there is going to have a filter of theirs. And that's where I say nothing's good or bad. Well, if they have an experience of that, they might give you bad suggestions. Being human is messy. It's chaos. How many of you think chaos is bad? You're hesitant. Okay, is it a trick question?
Chaos comes, opportunity comes, decision.
Nothing is good or bad. And the reality is everything is chaos. But when you look at it close enough or you get clarity on it, you can find fractals in every plant in this world, biomimicry. If you go look at any flower, they're all circling and spiraling. And you got to think of yourself as a human being that is flourishing. And flourishing means that you're spiraling upward and outward. And generally it's inward, then you magnetize. That's what magnetic zero is about, is spiraling outward, is that you impact a room because you're saying things that resonate with people, that really get them to think differently about themselves. That's my goal on this planet. Each of you have something very special. You are a 1 in 400 trillion chance of being alive. That's like real math. It's just not your mommy and daddy getting together and doing their thing. There's a lot more to it. The fact that this planet just happens to be Goldilocks conditions, that we can wear a light sweater on a day like this in October and be okay. That it's not too cold or too hot. I live in Phoenix, so I test the extremes. So I come from 120 degrees where some people think it's too hot. You get used to it. Flourishing is proactively creating measurable results for companies, $6 ROI to every dollar. And this is the size problem. Oxford University, Flourishing creates 1.4 billion in ROI for large firms. McKinsey estimates 12 trillion in losses from disengagement. So in your company, is anyone talking about flourishing? And flourishing is literally the crux of engagement, because you may leave your company to flourish, but that's better for the company and better for you. You may step into your leadership to understand you do have a voice. It doesn't take someone to tap you on the shoulder. You may actually understand your identity shift to say, this is how I'm going to show up in the world today, because your flourishing partner coaches you to that, mentors you to that. You may even let go of something in your past, some attachment you had, some identity that you had, to literally say, I'll move forward. And that's where there's a science back. There's literally science. There's a guy named Martin Seligman at Penn, that positive emotions, experiences such as peace, love, and gratitude, it's called PERMA, engagement, being fully absorbed in a state of flow. These are my definitions, by the way. They're not the definitions, but relationships, having positive, strong, and supportive connections. Your 5 closest friends. Meaning, feeling a sense of purpose and belonging to something larger than oneself. None of us want to be alone. Loneliness is the number one killer. And this is where I go back to our kids. We have to get our kids connected in real world. We have to make the effort for them, with them, to get them back in the real world. I'm a Gen X. I had to be home when it got dark, and I could leave when it got light. And sometimes there were some periods at night that I had to be within hollering distance. We all forget that. Now we have phones, but our kids don't leave the house. And statistically, the news, which is inundated, if there's anything you do also from this, is get off the news, because it's going to make you warp to say there's everything going wrong, but you're getting news from every corner in the world that's negative, that is meant to splinter your thinking. Figure out how your kids have real world relationships. Limit their time on social media. It is literally destroying their childhood. And I really say in a spiritual context, we're stealing our kids' childhood. If you just don't go out and play. Remember when a stick was a sword or an oar or a lightsaber? Kids are stuck in Roblox and Minecraft. And they're doing creative things and building mind, but they're also building what is even more scary that no one's talking about: AI, flourishing. And what we have built into our app is brain atrophy. If now I can do research, and there's some research on this of different groups of people, but If I use AI for everything, how many of you use AI a lot? Okay, not so much. Some of you not. It's easy, right? It helps you get things done, helps you think things through. And you're like, I did something, a complex tax, and then you're like, I got some free time because I got that done quicker than anything. I mean, it's like the little dopamine award. But the problem is you did no thinking. You prompted, and you'll get better, and your memory gets better. And those that don't use AI, what I will say, and I'll give you some tidbits, and we can answer some question and answer at the end. Is use AI, but be critical in your thinking and don't rely on it to do your job, because it will replace you, because you're going to get lazy and not know how to think through your job. And there's early indications of this, and it's where it will replace you if you let AI do all your thinking. As you learn, and as our Flourishing app, we're going to challenge you as a human being to create more human agency with AI, but also to go into the real world and have real conversations, because communication is still the key. It has always been the key to anyone to rise to any position, is that you communicate well, you hear people, you listen to people, you respect people, you literally have authority, you get there. AI can help you think you're getting there faster, but for kids in particular, and they know the brain stops developing back here, because you start getting lazy. And just like the industrial, so we just went out of the Industrial Revolution, right? And what did the Industrial Revolution do? By the 50s or 60s, things started to get automated, 70s. We never worked out before then, because we didn't have to work out. There wasn't gyms. And for 10 or 15, 20 years, I'm old enough to know this, in the 70s and 80s, you had Richard Simmons and you had some crazy gym stuff. But you are like, oh, those are for those people. Or at least that's what my parents said, And then finally now everyone has a gym membership. Why do we have a gym membership? Because we do nothing physical. Now, speed that up and understand the digital transformation that we've gone through over the 20 years. Now we're going to go through an AI transformation. That AI transformation is to do the same thing to your brain. So if you think people were flabby in the 80s and the 90s and now have slowly gotten back, we're still fighting something as we continually poison ourselves because of big food and big pharma. And this is where we need more people flourishing to stand up, to understand to be human is to treat each other like humans. I'm writing a book with the former governor of Puerto Rico on perverse incentives. And they're everywhere. Systems weren't meant to literally hurt people. They just started to get profit, and they figured out how to hurt all people. And that goes to the food pyramid that special interests and lobby say that all of our kids should have, which we know is not the pyramid we should feed our kids. It goes to school lunches. It goes to all these things. They're systemic just issues that literally impact our society and hold whole groups of people back. Those perverse incentives are layered into every layer of our government. They're layered into every layer of big food companies, pharma, and the people that work in them are not bad. Some of you may work in some of these industries. You're doing a job that is good. But if you look at the system and you look at some of the effects of it, we have to start being curious, because the question I always say, and I've talked to climate deniers and all kinds of different things, like, well, could we do better? Yes, we can do better. And it takes people that want to flourish to do that. So I'm tying this to your mission in life, is to think bigger than you ever have about what you could possibly do. And if there is something that agitates you or that just frustrates you, just understand, use AI to become an expert. Because for the first time in life, I'm going to say within a few weeks, you could have the top knowledge in any industry. That's never happened before. Now, knowledge doesn't mean anything. And this is where humans are important. Wisdom is what matters. Wisdom is where leadership is. You can still apply that knowledge and become wisdom. But achievement, accomplishment leading to feelings of competence and mastery. We can master things quicker than we ever have before. and it's in the fingertips of your hand. Anyone that has not used AI, go to ChatGPT, and I strongly encourage you to invest in the $20 in ChatGPT, or you can go to Claude or Gemini or any Copilot, any other one of them, Anthropic, and just invest and play with it. And I say play. Trebion talked about Daniel Kahneman, who invented industrial psychology, a lot of different things. He wrote the book that was in your first presentation. There's a system 3 that's more important. System 1 is that you deliberately think about something. System 2 is that it automatically happens. 95% of your day automatically happens. System 3 is a new system that a person in our network at Baryons invented, and it's like the system of play. You should go to work to play, to have fun. Meetings should be fun. They should not be boring or don't have the meeting. And system 3 is where we learn and grow the fastest. It's where kids learn and grow the fastest. If they're not playing, they're not learning. We don't grow out of that, folks.